Hello there. Today I'm going to do this. This is a very famous Danish sea trout fly for night fishing. It's called the number 9 because the guy who invented this caught a 9-kilo sea trout on his almost first cast with this one. So it's a very renowned fly that really works well on the Danish sea trout rivers. And today we're going to be tying on the Pro tube fly system. So this is a Pro flexi tube that I've added to the vise here, and then we need a bit of weight for this. So I'm just gonna take a small 10 millimeters US tube, simply in order to just add a bit of weight. Not too much, because this is a type of fly that a wake fly, you could almost call it. We want this to make a very big wake on the water when we're fishing in the Danish summer nights. So just add a bit of super glue there, and then basically put this all the way up there. And I'm gonna start on the other side with my tying thread here. This is a fairly easy fly to do. It's not that difficult. Like so, just add a bit of tying thread to ensure that the US tube is staying in place. But really, this is an effective pattern that contains all of the important stuff for the night fishing in the Danish rivers. And if you out there from around the globe are not familiar with this type of fishing, then basically we're fishing for a sea trout, the brown trout that migrates into the sea with large flies during the night time, and we have some of the best fishing here in Denmark in the entire world for this. Karup Å, which is a very famous Danish river, is probably one of the best places in the world to catch a trout above the 10-kilo line. Not loads, but I would say at least 10 fish above this magical size is caught each year. So I take some gold oval tinsel and just apply that to the underside of my tube here. And then we need a palmer hackle. So I take a fairly large, because we want this to be bulky and voluminous, I think it's called, and then I take a large hen hackle in brown. This has a bit of badger markings as well. That's okay. And then I add this to the underside of the fly where the rib was attached also. And because we're using dubbing as the body here, then it's not that important how big a bulk you get and stuff like that. On other salmon flies, you need to really watch out for your amount of thread use and stuff like that in order to get these to look good. Now we're gonna build a body, and I'm doing this with the Flashaboo dubbing in black. This is nice and shiny and fairly long fibered, which is ideal for a type of fly like this. So we can pull out a lot of this dubbing if you want, making this even more bulky and furry. I'm tempted to say. So basically, I'm just gonna build a body. This is gonna be fairly uniform in size and in thickness, all the way up to where the fly end. And as I said, this is a fairly large fly. This is definitely a fly that I would recommend you tie that is bigger than 10 centimeters. So a fairly large fly, because well, basically all the empirical data, if you can call that empirical data, all the cumulative experiences of the people fishing, of the local people fishing a lot in streams like Karup, is that big is better for these sea trouts. So definitely go big or go home, a lot of them are saying. And this is not even a fairly large fly compared to a lot of the flies that are used there. And I've seen a tendency these past years that the flies are just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. Some of them are even fishing flies up to 15, 17, 20 centimeters. And there seem to be this seems to be coherent and consistent among all the local fishermen, that the big flies fished in the nighttime just under the surface really is the stuff that makes the sea trout eat them. And it's really funny, because if you're fishing in the daytime, then the flies you will be using is fairly small. So why this is, there's been a lot of speculations about, but I'm pretty sure that what happens during the night to the sea trout is that they tend not to be as wary, and they move out of the big deep holes and into shallower water. And if you see something and when they see something very big pass over their heads, then they are more likely to respond by actually trying to grab these flies than they would be if you're fishing smaller flies. Because they're in the streams to spawn, then also you need to provoke them. So you can see I kind of made like a small fat cigar, something like that, with the dubbing. And now I'm going to turn my hackle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my hackle the opposite way of what I normally do, because I'm going to use the ribbing. I'm going to use the rib. Oh, this is annoying. I'm going to use the rib to actually to fasten my hackle so that it will be a lot stronger. And this will of course cause some of the hackle fibers to get mixed up and caught in there, but that's okay, because we can simply just pull those out with our dubbing needle. So kind of like that. Make sure you have an even number of turns and that you end as close to the same point as where you start. That would give your fly a better look and look more harmonious, like so. Tying all that down, and then I'm going to turn the rib on. I'm going to turn the rib the other way around, as I said. So like that. And before I do so, I basically just take all of this and just brush it so it sticks up into the air, which will make my job of turning this ribbing here a lot more easy. Again, I try as carefully as I can to have this. That's not the right angles. To have the same angles all the way around here, so my fly will look symmetric and basically, crap! My rib is just about where the US tube is, and that makes it a bit difficult to actually get exactly the correct angle and spacing between these turns of my rib here. That last one sucked. Like so. I did not quite manage to get it exactly the same location as before, so I will have one more turn of ribbing pointing towards me than to you. It doesn't have any effect out in the water, but you know, it's from the point of view of evolving your fly tying and stuff like that, then you definitely will notice it if that is important to you. Well, then we need three different types of three different colors of fur, of Arctic fur, and this is actually marble fox. So three colors of fox. First is a smaller wing of white fox, like this, and I prepare this by pulling all the woolly crappy fur underneath. And the first wing is not going to be that long. It's going to be about the same length as the body here. I'm going to tie this down on top. Apply some pressure to the thread. Cut this away, like so. Then I'm going to take an orange bundle. And when you're doing stuff with any natural material, make sure that you cut this off all the way down to the leather, because otherwise you will have a lot of stumps that is annoying and really will mess up the rest of your material for you. Again, I do like this, so I'm pulling out all this shorter crap that I don't need. And then I'm trying to spread this out a bit, so it's gonna lay on top but not completely cover the white part of the wing here, like that. Apply some pressure, and again cut away all the orange here. There you go. Then I'm going to take the black. You can see I moved the thread a bit further up in order to not get an insanely big bundle of tying thread on top of itself. And as you can see, the marble fox here really is very, very long. And that's it costs a bit more, but it's also maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 centimeters longer than the polar, the Arctic fox, and that is nice for tying these bigger flies. This is almost as long that you could, if you wanted to, you could probably make some sunray shadows with this, and I have done so. And that's a nice fly as well. If you're looking for a good salmon fly, then sunray shadow is definitely the way to go. It's absolutely excellent, and it's fairly easy. Well, it's extremely easy to make, and really works well. So now I take my black wing here, and this is going to be longer again, like so. So you have the white, the orange, and the black here. Cut off this. And well, basically, this is the original pattern. It's done now if you add some jungle cock, but I'm gonna do a few more things in order to make this well. As I've not caught that many sea trouts in Carbo. Actually, I've caught none on the fly, but that doesn't mean that I cannot tie this. Then I should be wary of saying I would enhance a pattern like this. But I really think that it really fits the fly very well to have a black hackle up here. So it does not at least lessen my faith in this fly to have a hackle here. I think that's pretty polite way of putting it. I like the black hackle. So that was a black saddle feather, and you can of course buy loose packages of these, and there will be a lot of usable feathers. But I always recommend people to buy a full cape or a full saddle, because you simply get an enormous more variated sizes, and it's easy to find the right one without having to empty the entire bag onto your table and stuff like that. So definitely go for something like that. So basically, I'm gonna tie this. I'm gonna turn this a few times to give again the fly more bulk, like so. Tying this down here, I'm gonna cut it off like that. Fold everything backwards. Make sure it's fastened, and as you can see, you get a bit more bulk up there, and then it tapers down via the wing, making the silhouette kind of more like a fish or something like that. Then we need some jungle cock, and because jungle cock is very hard to come by, I'm using these artificial ones, and they are by far the best I've ever tried. They're also quite popular, and that is why I only have the size small here. And actually, I would have preferred to use a medium or even a large for this fly. But you know, I have to make do with what I have, and in order for you to see them, these are artificial, but they are very strong, very durable, and they look pretty close to the real thing. As close as you can come. And what I'm doing now is I'm simply just, stretching it to make it more flexible and easier to follow the wing. I'm gonna tie one on my side, so it sticks up into the wing like so. and then the one on the other side. I do that, manipulate that as well, like so. And the final finishing touch on this is I'm going to take some angel hair in black, or this is black with a bit of red added. A lot of people, a lot of the wholesale shops and the manufacturers are going crazy with bleeding colors, and I must say I understand it, because it looks very nice. So I'm taking these and just trying to spread them out over the entire width of the wing here, like so. And that really gives a nice look and a nice feel to this fly. So I've added a hackle and a bit of flash, and I don't think that the inventor of this fly would mind me doing so. At least I hope so. Like that. Then I'm gonna do the whip finish. Oh, and one other thing I'm gonna add here is I'm gonna add a disc, like that. I'm going to add some super glue. And you could, you know, call this fly finished now. This would be excellent to finish it. But there is a lot of different few options that you could go with that I really like. One of them is this plastic disc, that if you add this, then it will make your fly move even more water without adding any weight. Or you could simply add a black one, but I like to add a small metallic red one that really looks nice for this fly. So I have one of these, and then I simply just push it as far up to the fly as I can. And that's a nice finishing touch, and it completely covers your head of tying thread, and basically there you have it. On the original pattern there is an orange butt part, but I'm gonna use a swing tube, which is kind of like something that guides the hook, that really looks awesome. And when I fish this, I'm gonna add one of those, so I will get the orange that way. The last thing you need to do is to take this out of the vise here, and then cut off the bottom part. And you can, of course, if you want to have this as far into the wing as possible, you can just not cut it off as far as I did there. Then I'm going to do the same thing in the other end here. So basically I just took the lighter in order to make this the tube here curve back. Like that. And there you can see you have a nice finishing touch on the fly here. And there you have it, the 9. A nice fly for sea trout in the Danish rivers. Thank you for watching and tuning in. I'm looking forward to seeing this swim out in the river of Carb. This is deadly. Thank you for tuning in.